Hi, this is Edward Troxel. In this video we're going to continue where we left off on the previous one and add another new feature, the ability to render multiple projects at one time. That way if you have multiple projects from one event, you can render them all at once instead of needing to do them one at a time. So let's get started. To add this new option we need to add another radio button. So let's add this radio button and get this added here. Then we're going to change the text of the radio button to be projects. And then let's change the name of this radio button to be RDO projects. In this case, we also need to actually get the projects that we're wanting to render. So to do that, I am going to add another button to the screen. So let's put this button here. And we'll call this button projects. BTN projects. And then for the text, we'll change this to select projects. And now we can go start adding our code. To do this, I'm just going to double click this, and if we come over here, we will see that it's automatically added the routine for us, but we need a couple of variables up at the top. I usually put all of my global variables up at the top simply because that way I know where they always are. You could actually put them pretty much anywhere, but I like the consistency that they're all right here. So let's add our two global variables. Our first variable I'm going to have is called GotNames. It is going to be a Boolean, and I'm going to set it to false initially because I don't have the names yet. And then the second variable is a string array, and it's going to hold the file names once we receive the file names. Now let's go back to the new routine that was added and flesh it out. So let me paste in the code for this routine, and let's go through it line by line. The first thing we want to do is create a new open file dialog. I'm just going to call it OFD, and it is a new open file dialog. Then we need to set the parameters for the OFD. So the first thing I'm going to set is the filter for the OFD, and I'm going to limit it to Vegas projects and then use the star.veg as the limitation of what we are going to show. I also threw the all files in here just in case you needed to change it to something else. The next line, we're going to change the multi-select option to true because we want to be able to select multiple projects. And then I'm going to change the title to select the Vegas projects to render. The next thing we need to do is actually show the dialog, and we want the result of the dialog, whether they pressed OK or whether they pressed cancel, to come back into our dialog result, which is our variable dr here. Then on the next line we check if dr equals the system Windows Forms dialog result OK. If they pressed OK, then I'm going to put the file names from that dialog into the variable we created, and I'm going to change the Boolean variable GotFileNames to true. Otherwise we'll set it to false. Now we need to go back up and be able to call this new routine. So up here we have if this radio button or this radio button or this radio button. So we need to add the new radio button for this one. This is going to be basically just like the previous one, only we're going to check if RDO projects is checked. Then we're going to call a new routine called render projects. And once again, we're going to pass it the renderer and the template. Let's create that new render projects routine. So this will be our new render projects routine. We're passing it a renderer, which is my renderer. We're passing it a render template, which is my template. First thing I want to do is check to see if we have file names. So if not got file names, then we're going to display this message on the screen. And it says you must get the files to render before you can choose this option. Please press the Select Projects button, and then it's going to come out and do nothing. Otherwise, we have the files, and now it's going to process them. For each file in that file list, the first thing I'm going to do is clear out the Vegas project. So we're going to do a new project, and the options are false and false. The first false says do not prompt me to save, and the second false is do not show the save dialog. So whatever you have on the project at this point is going to be lost. So if you have not saved ahead of time, you need to save before running this option. Or better yet, just start with a blank project, and that way when it does the new project, it hasn't done anything. The next line, we are going to open the first file. Then we need to set our file name the same as we did all the other times. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the directory box, and then I'm going to add the file of the actual project that we open. So let's get the file name without the .veg on the end. Then I'm going to add a dash, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in whatever name that we had typed in on the screen, and then we'll add the extension the same as we did before. The next thing we need to do is render the full project. So if you recall up here, when we rendered the full project, we started at timecode 0 and went to the length of the project. Well, we're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to start at 0 and go for the length of the project. And then we'll do the full render. And then after all of the files have been processed, I'm going to go through and do a new project once again, so that when it's finished, we end up with a blank project. So let's build this and see how it works. So we'll go to Tools, Scripting, Run Script, and once again it's in my JETDV render script, the /bin/release folder. So all I need to do is click here and click on Open to run it. And now for my template, I think I'm going to just select a wave, because that will render very quickly, and all we're wanting to do is make sure this works. So we'll click our save directory, drive C. Let's pick our watch render test folder, and then I'm going to type in full project here, and we're going to change this to projects. Now when I click on render, it's going to pop up this error message that we put in there. You must get the files to render before you can choose this option. Please press the Select Projects button. So let's click on Select Projects. And I happen to know that I have some good projects in C, vMedia, Crane Allen Wedding, and here I have the happens before the ceremony, then the ceremony, and then the stuff that happens between the ceremony and the reception, so I can just pick all of them at once, and then when I click on Open, it's going to go through each one of those 4 projects, and then we have to click on Render. So now it is going to go through all 4 of the projects. So it just opened the first project, and then it's going to render it to a WAV file. And it's going to do this for all 4 projects, which we're going to speed up here so that we don't have to wait very long. And now our renderers are done, and we can see we ended up with a blank project at the end. So we can close this. Let's look in our render folder, and you can see we have listed here. All of them begin with the name of the file that it came from. So CA ceremony, CA middle, CA pre, and CA reception. They were followed by dash full project, which was the name that we typed in for the file name. And then of course they all have the WAV extension, since we just rendered audio only. As you can see, if you use this option, you're going to lose whatever project was currently open, so it is best to make sure that the project was either saved or you start with a blank project. But this shows you how you can easily render multiple projects at once. Please sign up at www.jettv.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.